Welcome back to the Morning Brew, and our next guest is with us today. She's a Wednesday regular here at the Big Round Table. Anna Loiselle's right here.
Oh, thank you for being here
our
today.
relationship
Thanks,
coach.
guys. Yes.
Wow.
We're just talking about Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and after the holidays, it can be a little either a good time or
Yeah, and Valentine's Day can be stressful if the marriage, if you're struggling in a marriage or a long-term relationship, and now you're like, oh, I have to buy a gift, or what am I supposed to do?
What do we do?
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, so it's a really good time to get yourself into counseling or coaching or do something to improve the relationship.
Okay, that's our topic today. If one spouse is willing, or spouse, I should say, one person in the relationship is willing to go to counseling or seek help or get advice, and the other is not, you're in a real tough spot there, aren't you?
You can be. I think the challenge is yes, you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to. So I think that's the first thing, is knowing that. And then the next thing is, if you do want your spouse to go to, counseling or coaching or take some relationship classes, you want to approach it. Timing's going to be important. If you guys are fighting and then all of a sudden you're like, and you need to go to therapy. I mean, that's probably
that's a tough sell.
Yeah, that's going to be a losing strategy for sure. Yeah. So I think it's about making sure that there's timing and that you're approaching your partner in a way that they're going to be willing to be cooperative versus, like forcing somebody, because you never can make somebody do something. And actually what you'll do is create resistance more than anything. And then the other piece of it is getting your partner involved in what it is you want to do. Therapy's not for everybody, and there's other alternatives nowadays. There's great stuff to help couples. It could be, working with a coach, which is what I am, and ladies, men really resonate with that a lot better than therapy, because therapy often, there's a stigma with it that says, there's something wrong with us. So coaching is a little bit easier, can slide people in a bit easier, but there's also classes. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do. So get your partner involved. That's important.
So do you think maybe just establishing a clear, something you want to accomplish? So, hey, we need to communicate more, and then approach them with that and say, look, I think we need to improve our communication skills.
I think that's important. I mean, I like what you said, that getting your partner kind of to buy in. Like, what are the challenges that you see that we're having, and how do we want to solve that? So it's a team approach versus like, I'm, really upset, I hate this marriage, and, if we don't go to counseling, I'm leaving. Like, threats don't work. I mean, they may work in the interim, but people resent it. So it's really about making it collaborative, and how can you get your partner involved, and that you guys are choosing something that you both want to do. The other piece of it is shop around a little bit. Often I'll get phone calls that people are, when they call me to see if, they want to work with me, the very first question they ask me is, do I take health insurance? And I'm like, that's not necessarily the right question to be asking. The question is do you want to find out if the therapist or the coach, if that's 100% what they do? Their focus is on couples, because often people have many modalities or different areas of focus. Find somebody that really is dedicated to working with couples. I think that's the first question you want to ask. And then what's your success rate? That's another question, is, how many couples have you saved? Those are good questions. The money piece, let's worry about that later. That shouldn't be your first question.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't really put a price tag on a relationship.
Good point, Erin. Yes, you can't. I mean, that's an interesting question. Well, and divorce,
oh, there's so much. Well, then you deal with divorce. You can't put a price tag on that.
It gets expensive.
That can get pretty
It gets expensive.
crazy.
So I think people aren't really looking at it with the perspective of, look, we really want to save our marriage, and it's costly to get a divorce. So if the question is how much is it going to cost me to do counseling or coaching or classes, I don't know if that's the right way to look at things. Get the help you need. That's important.
I would think language is important here too. Tell your spouse you want to enhance the relationship, or add more to the relationship rather than fix the relationship. I think that's an easier thing to hear, don't you?
Yeah, fix. When you say fix, that kind of that means it's broken.
We need help, and we got to do this now.
Right.
I'd rather improve it or enhance it, or tweak it or whatever you want to call it.
I think we should talk about that next week about language. Like there's certainly trigger words that are going to set your partner off, and they're going to be defensive and less likely to cooperate with you. So that's a really good point.
And maybe
be careful of your
make the
language.
timeline a little broader. Hey, sometime before this spring, let's go and have a coaching class.
It can
I think
be.
that's an easier thing to hear than next week we're going.
We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably, you know, again, with the language, maybe we can talk about this next week, but how you say that, not through text or stuff like that.
Yeah,
on
that's never-
Facebook, I see people all the time on Facebook, I have relationship issues, or I hate my husband. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Publicly,
Maybe you shouldn't do
probably
that.
not the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good idea. That's another losing strategy.
Yeah.
We can talk more about that next week for sure.
Hey, you need to talk to a relationship coach. We have one for you here. You saw her URL there. Check her out on the web. Good to have you here, Anna.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Anna Loiselle, relationship coach. We'll be back with more on the Morning Brew after this.